Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Subnet Show. I am your host, Gabriel Cardona, coming to you from San Francisco this week. And I am joined by my amazing co-host, the man with the most cats in crypto, Connor Daly. What is up, my friend?
John, you're laughing. You're laughing. It's true. This is my brand now. This is who I am. I've just embraced it. And if somebody challenges for me for this title, I'm just gonna have to get more cats.
Just have us hop on Zooms or meetings with you, and as you're talking, the cat comes across the desk and up your arm and into your hair.
Where's he at
Oh
now?
yeah. I kicked him out of the room. I gave him some dinner and he tried to make it so that I wouldn't be disturbed. But yeah, Ollie has taken up his new thing is he just loves sitting on my shoulders and he'll just be in scarf mode the whole time.
Nice. Okay, well, I have said it so many times whenever we have fellow coworkers from Ava Labs that Ava Labs is just really such an amazing place to be right now. Out of my whole entire career, there's no question about it. This is the absolute best team that I've ever worked with. Starting at the C-level suite and all the way down the org chart, we just have absolute block stars across the board. And so this week, we are fortunate enough to be joined by yet another amazing block star from Ava Labs. This week we have one of the serious movers and shakers who are really one of the, the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the wizard or the guy behind the curtain, really driving so much of the Avalanche ecosystem. So all of the cool stuff you guys see, all of the cool alpha that we leak, so much of it has come from our guest today. So let me introduce to the Subnet Show. We have the VP of Business Development at Ava Labs, John Nahas. What is up, my friend?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Subnet Show. So stoked to finally get to connect with you on the show. As I mentioned, so very much stuff originates from you and the team you're working with. Definitely since I've been on the team, I've seen so many different initiatives. So I guess we'll just sort of start at, as I mentioned, your title is VP of Business Development at Ava Labs. And so I guess just kind of walk us through, what does it mean to be the VP of Business Development at Ava Labs? What does your day look like? What are your tasks? That kind of thing.
My day usually looks like a screen like the one in front of me with this camera talking to anywhere from 8 to 10 to 20 people, partners, from about 8:30 or 8 a.m. Pacific time till about 4:30 in the afternoon, and then I can get to work after the marathon of calls normally end, and that's been the case probably for over a year. But we cover a lot in the BD department. We have multiple verticals, so I guess I'll go over kind of what BD entails, and that focuses on many verticals. First being DeFi, second being gaming, third, well, in no particular order, DeFi, gaming, exchanges and wallets. And that includes, self-custody wallets, custody, qualified custody, et cetera. Institutional and capital markets, so dealing with TradFi, banks, financial services, financial institutions, enterprise, and finally, kind of arts and culture or NFTs. Those are the 6 high-level kind of groupings that we have on the team. And as everybody knows, Luigi is our king of DeFi, who heads up DeFi. Ed's the hero of gaming, so Ed Chang leads gaming. Recently, as of this week, we've actually been fortunate to get Morgan Kupetsky to join and lead our institutional capital markets vertical. She comes to us from Citigroup, where she was on the FX desk for nearly a decade, and then chief of staff to the chief compliance officer. So excited to have her joining and looking to expand leadership positions with the team to head up exchanges and wallets, as well as NFTs and as well as enterprise. Up until this point, kind of juggling a little bit of all until Ed came, and including gaming, until Luigi came with DeFi. So I joined the firm September 10th, 2020. So a little under 2 weeks before mainnet went live. So definitely seen this journey from mainnet till today, and it's been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't catch I apologize. The person who came from FX, who was that?
Morgan Kupetsky.
Got it. Okay.
She's our new director of institutional and capital markets on the DB.
Gabriel's now like, all right, time to get her on the show.
Yeah, I'm
Send her out
taking-
to
I'm
schedule
taking
guests.
Give her some time to get acclimated. We definitely threw her in the deep end, but you know, I mentioned the verticals. I mentioned the people that run the verticals, but you know, I'm really fortunate to work with the best BD team in the business. From everybody from the OGs that have been here from day one, that were here before me, to the great associates, senior associates, and managers that we've hired or that have joined over the past year, and the huge influx of new people that we've hired over the past couple of months. Everything we do is a testament to their hard work. So very fortunate to be working with the best crew in the business.
I frequently wish that you guys were actually at least a small bit worse at your jobs, because unfortunately you just bring in too much business that the engineering team can handle. And especially when we're doing a lot of work with dApps, we're just like, all right, we got a new partner who wants to integrate. We got to do this thing. And I'm just like, we're still integrating the last 3 partners.
We were told to slow down, so you're welcome, or else
Yeah.
we would have had a whole lot more.
Yeah, no, it's it really can say, like, you know, from my perspective, yeah, where I sit, we've never had a shortage of business whatsoever. And you guys have always been able to bring in absolutely top tier partnerships. And, you know, it doesn't feel like much ever slips through, you know, through our fingers. Just like, I think a lot of times when we have, you know, something that we want to accomplish from a business perspective, you know, we have the team and, you know, and the resources to go out and do it. And that's been, you know, really exciting.
Do you have a sense, John, of how large the company was when you joined versus how large we are now? Do you know the numbers?
I think I was well, there's 3 of us who joined the same day. Chris Lavery, CFO, Nick Muslim, head of product, and myself.
Nice.
So I could either be considered the 36th or the 38th employee, because the 3 of us were that day. So 36, 7, 38. I think we're about 140, 150 now, maybe more. And if we can find enough people to fill the spots, I think we'd be at about 170, 180 rather soon.
Yeah, definitely the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges. Anybody who's ever, you know, tried to do a startup or built a team knows that one of the greatest challenges is simply finding the people, right? There's like a ton of capital out there if you're competent, and there's plenty of ideas to execute on. There's tons of opportunity, but finding, you know, competent, hardworking people that are trustworthy and that, you know, can get across the finish line is one of the greatest challenges in building a startup. And we've just been so incredibly fortunate. I just said at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it again right now, the team at Ava Labs just does not miss, man. We've been so very fortunate about getting great people, because one of the problems is as you scale, we're certainly not there yet. We're definitely still a startup, in my opinion, even at 150 people. But one of the problems is as you scale so big, you eventually run out of people that are blockchain native. There's just not that many blockchain native people in the world. And part of what we're doing is on-ramping, you know, the rest of the world, right? That's what's happening right now. And so being able to find the right people, make sure that they're actually passionate and not just wanting to get a paycheck, that kind of thing. Keeping the startup culture alive as we scale out is something that I think is one of our greatest challenges and our greatest opportunities. So I often I have, you know, bi-weekly meetings with Patrick, our VP of engineering, and I always say it every time we meet. Not only do we have the challenge of scaling out this, you know, cutting edge technology, which is a paradigm shift and is going to, you know, allow the blockchain to have this coming of age moment, which I always talk about, but we also have the challenge and the opportunity of scaling out our team. And so, yeah, I agree with you. If we could find the people, the right people, we would be even larger than we are today. And that's interesting to hear you. So you got the exact number 36, 37, and 38, because I think I joined in May. So I joined right before you. So that means obviously I was less than that. I thought when I joined, there was like 50 people. So that's interesting to know. There's probably like 30 or something like that. And we are just growing at such a, you know, a breakneck speed, and it's pretty awesome. So give me a sense of, how did you find out about Avalanche and Ava Labs?
So this is actually a great story, because in a previous life, I've done a whole bunch of things. And for anyone who's like under 25 or 26, right, we've all come to crypto or blockchain from one field or another, or from many fields. And that's what I think makes it amazing, because the tech really has implications for so many different sectors, and it brings in so many different backgrounds and expertises, right? So whether it's engineering, product, marketing, business, communications, finance, legal, there's so many things, right? So I had been at another startup that I was a founding team member for built some great products there, sold that. That company got acquired. Actually was about to jump into something new, and then COVID hit. I actually got an offer letter on a Wednesday. I was about to send it back on a Friday, and the whole world shut down. And I have two kids. So I have a 3 and a 4-year-old, and both of those kids were born on Fridays while I was building that old company. And I was back to work on Monday. So COVID happened, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take some time. So I took like 2 months, 2.5 months. Nobody knew what was gonna happen, right? Spent some time with the family. It was great. And then I want to say around mid-August, I was like, okay, time to start looking again. So I was actually pretty far along the way with other offers and other potential people. I was actually really interested in going full crypto, because I was more fintech, blockchain focused initially, and I wanted to go more crypto native. So I was talking to another L1, a custodian, and an exchange. One was about 85, 90, 95% along the way, had offer letters. Through a mutual friend, someone who was an advisor to the firm, who I had actually done work with previously at Token Vault. I was just having a chat, and I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. He's like, oh, have you heard of Ava or Ava Labs and Avalanche? I'm like, no, I haven't. This was like on a Tuesday. He introduces me to Lydia on a Wednesday. So Lydia was the head of BD, and I was the second person to join the BD team alongside her. And then we both co-lead this amazing team. So I talked to Lydia on a Thursday. She said, are you free to talk to John, who are president? I said, yeah, sure, Monday. She's like, how about tomorrow? Talk to John on Friday. John calls me first thing Monday, says, I need you to talk to Kevin. Joe Ferrara took 4 days to schedule me talking to Kevin. So I talked to Kevin like late Thursday night or Friday morning. I can't remember exactly, but all I know is I got a message 10 minutes later from John saying, stay tuned. Got an offer from John on Monday the following week. Went back to him with some ideas on Tuesday, got it back Wednesday, signed, and was ready to go. And I was like, he said to me, how soon can you start? And I said, Monday? And he's like, no, make it Friday. So Wednesday night I signed, Friday morning I started. And I just loved the speed and the excitement that they had and that I had. It was just one of those situations where it just feels right every step of the way, right? And not to mention, when my buddy told me about Avalanche, I like got red pilled, right? Like I went into YouTube and watched all of Goon's videos and Kevin's talks and read the white paper and read everything. And I was like, this is kind of too good to be true, right? This is not just some other crypto project. Like this is Goon. This is the co-chair of IC3. This is a new consensus. This is a new way to look at blockchains and their abilities. And dude, this is awesome, right? Like let's build this thing from the ground up from day one and build a business team around it and build use cases around it. You can go into a lot of organizations, right? And there's a lot of history there or baggage. So the ability to come in, not day one on the tech side, and not day one either on the business side, because business had been done to leading up to a Binance listing and other stuff. But to really kind of be at the ground floor was super exciting.
Yeah, so you're an OG whenever you call it Ava. So I caught that whenever you first came out. Like I remember we were going to be called Ava for a brief moment in time, and obviously that fell through. We ended up being called Avax. So I know if anybody ever calls it Ava, they're certainly an OG. So you said you were number 2 on the BD team after Lydia Chow. Am I pronouncing your last name? True. Yes. So how big is your team now?
I'm going to get this number wrong because I've lost track, but if I'm not mistaken, we're either 18 or 20. I don't know. With Morgan, it might be 19 or 20.
Wow. I had no idea, man. I would have, if you asked me, I would have said maybe a couple of handfuls.
So I was just saying this to someone earlier today. Like we're running our core BD team meeting, and it used to be a handful of screens, and then it used to be the full screen, and now there's like a list. And we were talking about how we have to raise our hands in meetings now because we're just like we went from being a core crew who just like jumped in and was very ad hoc and how we discussed things to like we'd have 5 people talking over each other if we didn't have more of a structure. So yeah, it's a lot.
And how out of the
got a team, Luigi's got a team that focuses on DeFi that helps him. Ed's got a team on gaming. I've got a team, Lydia's got a team. We all kind of wear many hats too, though. So at the same time, we have these verticals, but there's overlap, right? There's overlap between DeFi and NFTs, and between gaming and NFTs, and between gaming and DeFi, and between enterprise and institutional, and enterprise and DeFi. So at some level, these things all touch on each other. So what I look for, what we look for in the team is two things. And people have asked me this recently, like, oh, how do you build a team? Or how have you built a team? Curiosity and grind. And what I mean by that is, if you're curious, you ask a lot of questions. Why, how does this work? Why don't we have that? Why doesn't this work? What do we need for that? Why don't we have this partner? What do we need to get that? And if you're curious enough, you'll ask all these questions and then continue to snowball, snowflake to avalanche, many more questions on top of it and build upon it, right? And if you don't have grind, then you just sit there and daydream all day and think. But if you have grind, then you take those questions and they enable you to go and do it, right? And then you do it and you fix one thing and then you realize you need another thing and another thing and another thing, and the thing keeps going. So those are really the two things that I look for. And I think that everybody on this BD team is an inquisitive mind. They ask why, how, and then they get it done. And it's literally been a testament to, I think, the growth and the success that we've seen.
So how do you think about the purpose and vision of like BD as a whole? So I think a lot of people might be like, well, why does an L1 need a BD team? Shouldn't you just let the ecosystem kind of like grow and evolve? So like, you mentioned you work in a lot of different verticals, but I guess why are you in those verticals? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish in each of them? That's
a great question. So I think ultimately at some point, there won't be a need for a BD team. Or actually, I take that back. We have two mandates on the BD team. One, the growth and expansion of the Avalanche ecosystem. First and foremost, that's been the mandate from day one. Secondly, is working with partners, enterprise institutions to build things or to partner on things to build on Avalanche as Ava Labs, right? So priority number one, which we've seen, is grow the ecosystem. At some point, this ecosystem becomes mature enough. We don't need BD anymore. The thing runs on its own. Avalanche is a layer one, or whatever you want to call it, subnets, or any level of it, is a public utility. Anyone can build what they want on it whenever they want. We don't need to help anyone do it. Then we switch to the second mandate full time, which is working with enterprise. So we become kind of a blockchain as a service company, right? We build subnets for enterprise and we create new use cases or work with product, right? Connor, you did this on the dev team, like to build cool stuff with people on Avalanche. But until Avalanche gets there or has the adoption, we need a BD team. You need a BD team because we know this. We have the best tech, but the best tech doesn't always win, right? VHS, Betamax, we can use a million examples. There is some really good tech out there right now in the blockchain industry that doesn't have the traction we do because they don't do BD or they don't do some level of marketing. Because at the base layer, what we do, what Connor does, what I do, what you do, Gabriel, like especially Gabriel as an evangelist, is we have to educate people. You have to educate the masses on what blockchain is. You have to educate the crypto curious on why Avalanche. You need to educate enterprise and institutional partners as to why we matter, right? So for all the talk that people do on a daily basis about, oh, crypto is going to democratize financial inclusion and open up the boundaries and all this great utopian stuff, that's a pipe dream. Because what we really are, and this is kind of a controversial take, we're a bunch of elitists because we use this super hard tech to use. The UI is not there. The UX is not there. The onboarding is not there. You got to, I mean, think about it, right? The age-old question, how do you explain blockchain to your mother? You don't. If you have to explain it, you've already lost. My mom doesn't know how Zelle works. She doesn't know how PayPal works. She knows she pushes a button, money moves. She knows that she goes and buys something online and it's in her shopping cart and it's done. And the payment works, right? Unless we are as fast, or it's not faster, as cheap, if not cheaper, and as easy, if not easier to use than the incumbent established system, we're not going to make it. Plain and simple. So Our job is to educate all of us. Ava Labs, Avalanche, any other L1. At the end of the day, we are super elitist because we talk about seed phrases and wallets and onboarding and buying crypto and paying gas fees. The majority of millions, if not billions of people that we intend to bring into this space don't care. They don't care and they never will care. And that's a controversial thing to say, but it's the truth. Our job is to educate first and foremost. That's why I think maxis exist, right? Maxis exist is because we're still so early and we're still so tribal that we fight over these little crumbs that exist in the current world that we live in, which is still so small, right? But if we were to take a wider view and look, instead of fighting over crumbs, no, this is the best L1, no, this is the best tech, no, you're this, no, you're that, and work together at some base layer and educate it, all of us, the thing we can do, all of us, the collective we as in blockchain and crypto, educate people. We grow that pie infinitely, and there's more than enough for all of us to do, right? So why we exist, back to the question after my long rampage of a tirade here, tangential tirade. Why we exist? We exist to help partners. To help partners build the right thing and to be a true partner for them. At the end of the day, BD does not sell a product. We sell an idea, and we sell a partnership, right? It's competitive out there. People give grants, they do this, they do that. BD says, is this a good project? Is this a good team? Does the ecosystem want or need this? And if so, we will support. Connor will give them tutorials on how to build on Avalanche. Gabriel will walk them through and educate them on the benefits of this first app. Marketing might help them co-market. BD might help them with an investment, or bootstrap them with a small little grant or something just to help them. And then where we differ from everyone else is we don't do grants as much as our competition. We do incentives, right? We do Rush, we do Multiverse. We say, build a good product. We will support you. And when you do and you deploy it, we will ensure that we're helping you bring people over to try it. And then, as we know, when people try it, they love it and they stay. As is the case with Rush, right? We announced Rush. There's no incentives yet, but the bridge is live. So people got curious. Let's try it. And TVL started to take off before you even had a single dollar of incentives doled out through Rush. We opened the doors. So BD's job is to open doors, hold partners' hands, and help them. And more than anything, I use the analogy, I saw this cartoon once. And I think these machines exist. If you see them, they're like these huge trucks that go over raw or barren land and lay pipe and road and then telephone pole, electric pole and wires, like an infrastructure machine, right? That just goes and lays roads and pipes and sewers and everything. That's BG's first job, is to kind of lay the foundation or the infrastructure on the foundation, which is Avalanche, so that developers can come in and build, right? Because if you're a DeFi app, if you don't have stable coins, if you don't have on-ramps, fiat on-ramps, exchanges, you're building on an island. If you're GameFi and you don't have subnets or wallets or other ways for people to interact, you're building on an island, right? If you're enterprise or institutional, we don't have custody or exchanges or prime brokers or the kind of the pieces and the parts that are needed to do transactions or business or whatever, you're on an island. So our job first and foremost is to lay that foundation. And then sometimes we will come out and say, hey, look, we're partnering with these guys. Look at this great thing we've built or that they've built. And then everyone who comes after and is driving down that road says, that's an amazing house over there. Let me pull over and see what it's like. I'm going to build one here too, whether it's in DeFi neighborhood or in gaming neighborhood, right? Our job is to lay foundation, to support and bootstrap early innovation, and then let the community afterwards come in and do and build as they please.
One of the things that I think you guys do so well is you talk to different audiences, because there's so many different types of people that we deal with. We deal with the super crypto native people. We also deal with the super legacy institutions. We also deal with the Silicon Valley startup crowd. And these are all different audiences that we have to be able to speak to and be able to kind of bridge the gap with. And because, people like it at legacy institutions, They want to get involved in crypto, but they're very risk averse, and they need people who can speak their language because they're not ready to talk to a bunch of degens. Like they need to talk to a bunch of suits. And we can provide that while at the same time, really have our finger on the pulse of what the current culture is, and where NFTs are going, what DeFi is doing, and how people are innovating there, and how we can incentivize small teams of builders that are brand new anons. And just kind of being able to like bridge those gaps. So I guess what have you learned working with all those different groups?
I think the most surprising thing is, I'll say on the kind of incumbent side, a lot more people than you think know a lot more than you would think they do, surprisingly so. And then some people that you think would know a lot don't know a whole lot at all. So it's kind of, you'd be shocked. You talk to the blockchain division at some place and they're like, do you know who Satoshi is? It's like random stuff. What? And then you talk to somewhere where you're like, these guys are not going to know a single thing. Like, don't say the word seed phrase because you'll lose them. And then the guy's asking me about leverage yield farming. And I'm like, how does this guy like, so there is no, I guess what I'm getting to is there's no one size fits all. We, like you said, we go talking to teams of 2 anons to the top, one of the largest top 3 banks in the world, to an enterprise, to whatever it may be. Common themes are everyone's excited, everyone's curious, and it's changing at a much more rapid pace than it has before. Like, I was talking to the head of innovation at MasterCard at the summit, right? And he said something, and I told him that I was going to steal this line, and I have, that I feel like we're at the end of the beginning, in the sense of what I was mentioning earlier about this elitism in our space and Web3 is because people have been in it for 5, 6, 7 years, and they're still focusing on nitpicking little things about the tech or little things that on the whole don't matter. We're moving past that, right? You're getting the TradFi people who are joining. You're getting the enterprise people. You're getting the people who are like, I don't care what you pay me, just I want to work in this space. But what that's doing is it's softening the hardcore nature, the maxi nature away. It's making it more inclusive, and it's bringing in new viewpoints and professionalism. Think about it, right? Crypto is very cypherpunk, anti-establishment, etc. At its core, we still are being very disruptive and transformative, as the technology should be. But we're working both from outside the system and from within the system. And at some point, the two will meet, hopefully closer to what we would like it to be. But just from the outside, yelling in, you're not going to do anything, right? And from the inside, begging to make a difference, you're not going to do anything. You need to have a balance of both. And I think that's happening. So it's changing. It's changing for the better. I mean, I'm always uber bullish. You guys know me on everything. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. I think what we see now is how people are using this technology to make established and existing things better or easier or faster or cheaper. What's really exciting to me is the stuff that I don't know, right? The stuff that none of us know, that killer app that's going to be launched on Avalanche or wherever, that's really going to transform how people use this technology, right? Like the internet happened and everyone thought it was cool. And then social media came, Facebook, et cetera, or whatever, right? What's going to be that thing for us? Because up until now, we're just remaking what's happened before and what's existed in a decentralized way or a better way. But the real cool stuff is where we go next.
I think that's subnets right now. I mean, if you look at what we're doing, we have ideas for what subnets can be, but we're flying blind. Like we think that we can make this happen, but we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And we're onboarding these new partners. We just had today, what was it called? Zappa or something like that. Some guy just announced a brand new subnet that was a Zcash fork. Sorry, I should look up the name. We had no idea about this. This was not something that we incubated. And, it's one super cool to be.
We didn't talk to him. We never met him. We have no idea who he is. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't want anything. The guy just built it and launched it. Amazing.
Dropped on Twitter, and we were just like, oh, totally permissionless. And so, that obviously huge milestone for, having, subnet that isn't like, super ushered along by us, just because, we're still working out the kinks. It's, very early adopter technology, but I think that there's so much potential when you allow people to cheaply create, their own chain and be able to modify their own chain and kind of unlock the next tier of creativity. Essentially, when you unlock, instead of making a one size fits all platform, allow people to kind of change the platform and see what that can do. So that's what I think is the current grounds of innovation and scary stuff.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's not as cheap as we would like it to be, because still need 2,000 of Ox to run a validator. One of Ox was much cheaper. Hopefully it never goes back that low. It'll be cheaper, but that's why multiverse exists now too, right? Rush was a great way to incentivize use cases and incentivize developers to build and people to come over. We saw the Ethereum blue chips come, and we saw the Ethereum community build new products on us first. And along the way, you've seen the Avalanche community build new novel and native things on Avalanche. I think multiverse is going to do the same. If there's a great project, a great product that needs to launch and needs a subnet, well, we can help them bootstrap that node. And then once they're able to stand on their 2 feet and succeed, well, they'll give it back or something. But or we'll give them incentives for users. But it's really amazing when I talk to partners about what they think about subnets.
How do you go about finding the opportunities in the partners? Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? A little bit of both?
So the first 8 months I was here, I chased 80 to 90% of the people we work with. Now 95%, 90% come to us. And I still chase, because I now just chase much bigger people, much bigger things. And I get to think of like the creative big stuff that make a big difference, hopefully. It's a very easy sell if I'm to be selling. Subnets are app-specific chains, permission or permissionless. The reason these have failed in the past, or at least on the enterprise or the institutional side, is nobody likes to build anything in a vacuum. So if you have the permissionless chains that are enterprise focused, by the time those enterprises come about doing something, it's never going to happen. And if you talk about the permission chains, you might as well just be using a SQL database or something like that, because there's no real community and an ecosystem around it. The beauty of subnets is that you have a broader ecosystem. You can build a subnet and pull USDC from the C chain. You can mint NFTs on the C chain and bring them over. You can bring a Vox over from the X chain, or you can create any kind of asset that doesn't need a smart contract capability on the X chain and bring it in and move it around for logistics or intra-net settle payments or whatever it may be. So when you talk to these institutions, right, before they all these single monolithic chains are a solution in search of a problem. Here's our one size fits all solution. Now make what you want fit that mold or that capability. With subnets, it's here you go. What do you need? Build the chain that has the parameters and the rules and the whatever that you want for your app, right? Look at Axie Infinity. Axie built a great game. They had to go create their own chain. The guys aren't distributed systems specialists. They're not blockchain engineers. They're game creators. A game creator should focus on doing what they do best, which is creating a game, right? If they're able to launch a subnet, they would say, these are the parameters we want. These are the ones we need. Make some changes, work with us, work with somebody else, but configure it the best way they want, as many validators as they want, whatever fee structure they want, whatever gas token they want. And there you go. So if you're a game, you parameterize around that. If you're a financial institution in the US and you need KYC, AML, or OFAC screening, you do that. If you're in Europe and you need GDPR compliance issues, you can gate it with that. So there is no single subnet, right? If there was a single subnet, maybe we'd call it something funny like SuperNet. But in reality, there are many subnets because you could create whatever you want to fit the application that you need. And when people hear that, the light goes off, right? Because for enterprise specifically, they have two pressures. Their board says, we need a blockchain solution, because everybody needs a blockchain solution. You know, they have no idea what it is. Or they truly need one, but cannot find a solution that works for their use case. We're the ones telling them, what do you need? Here you go.
And so what do you think are our biggest opportunities and our biggest challenges?
Our biggest opportunities are really bridging all the different things that we do and really showcasing what Avalanche can accomplish across every sector, right? You don't need to be niche focused. Niches are great to win one by one or to succeed in one by one, but ultimately, right, you have the crypto native here and you have the enterprise institutional here. You have the chains that focus on this and a couple of chains that focus on that. But ultimately, the whole reason this entire industry and this technology was built is to move this incumbent, established, old world forward, right? Or else if we're just building an island over here where everyone's Web3 native and crypto native and all we do is work and talk and trade amongst ourselves and swap and buy and mint and whatever, then we might as well just live on an island and forget about the rest of the world. But this innovation should be a magnet to push this old world this way. And hopefully we meet somewhere on this side of the equation. Our biggest challenge is education. You need to educate people. The more you educate people, the more they understand, the more they're willing to kind of shed the old stereotypes that they have. Second challenge is not enough great people in this space. We need more people. There's a huge exodus from TradFi and everything into crypto, but we need a lot more. And the final thing is just enough hours in the day. There's not enough time to do everything that we want to do. So I would say we need to have focus. Everyone needs to have better focus on what is achievable today, tomorrow, and next week.
And then how do you, out of the, I think you said 6, DeFi gaming, exchanges and wallets, TradFi enterprise, and arts and culture, how did you ultimately come to articulate those? Were those fleshed out when you came on board as number 2, or has that been something that's organically emerged since you've been around?
No, so these are all come as we've grown as a team, and as focuses have kind of grown or emerged. So, when we were a team of 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be, I was jumping from and on teams of 2 to Coinbase to a wallet provider to I was just bouncing all over. We all were. And at one point, we were like, DeFi is amazing and needs someone to really live and breathe it. There was no, I looked, there was no role focusing on DeFi anymore. And I was like, what we need is someone who understands our ecosystem, what we have, what we don't have, what we need, what we want, and what exists elsewhere. So talking with Lydia, I put up a post for director of DeFi. I was like, we need someone to live and breathe DeFi and just live in that world and own that world. And a lot of people come across and ultimately, saw Luigi's resume. I talked to the team and the right man for the job. So he was the first like vertical specific person that came on and has, of course, tremendously done a great job and owned that and grown that. And then NFTs kind of started before, right around we went with mainnet, so we didn't get to catch that. But I did see gaming growing. Ed Chang reached out to us, and within 5 minutes of talking to him, I was like, well, somehow he got introduced to him. But in 5 minutes of talking to him, I was like, this is the right guy for the job, who gets it. We can be ahead of this curve and really have the right person to lead it. So Ed was the second. And then at that point, I was like, look, we need to really create these verticals and bring people in for them, because I'm juggling these things, Lydia's juggling these things, Luigi's all of us are juggling many things. Specific people, of course, focused a little more on other things than others. So now we've kind of broken them down into those things. So we're still looking. Until then, we will continue to wear many hats.
Do you want to mention again the roles that you're looking for?
Yeah, director of arts and culture. So that's for NFTs. And then we have a director of exchanges and wallets. So that's working with exchanges that Avalanche is listed on to continually keep an eye on it and see how we engage their customers and users more. That's to get Avalanche listed on the remaining exchanges that it's not listed on. That's to get USDC and USDT native on Avalanche listed on exchanges, or to work with exchanges to list those, and to support the ecosystem, to be an ambassador for the Avalanche ecosystem and our project to exchanges, but also to wallets, right? So whether it's MetaMask or Coinbase wallet or Trust wallet or any the newest wallets that are coming out across there, and then of course custody, so self-custody, qualified custody, and the like there. So anything that has to do with a wallet and people holding assets. And the final one is enterprise. That's not public. We haven't put anything up there yet, but that's something that's going to be coming soon.
And if somebody wants to cut through the noise and give like signal that resonates with you, how do they do that?
I'm not going to leak that because that's my way of honestly finding the best people sometimes. The way that they go about reaching out to me or someone or making themselves known or their impact. At the end of the day, people are like, oh, what's the best thing someone can do? And I'm like, you're applying for a BD role. Think of how you would treat a partner and try reaching out to us or communicating to us the way you would reach out to a partner. So you can't get our attention, and a partner sure as hell isn't going to get your attention when you're here. Having said that, I'm not a fan of the overtly crazy stuff, right? Like the annoying pestering stuff, but there's a way, and I can't explain it. You just kind of know when you see those candidates.
No extravagant gifts that need to be sent to woo the partner. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, man. That was like a super download. Thank you for that. So what's on your horizon? What should we be looking for next that you can leak to us?
Most immediate, I think, is for anyone who's in Europe, Gabriel, you, myself, Bevan, a bunch of people from the team are going to be in Berlin for Avalanche House Berlin leading up to the Formula E race. Looking forward to that. Members of the team will be at Permissionless in Palm Beach the week after. That's going to be like 2 weeks. And then looking forward to not traveling. It's been a crazy travel schedule for the past couple months, which means work piles up,
I'm impressed you're booked that far out. Our policy used to be we figure it out the week before that we need to go.
Happens. Oh, so June is not July. There's travel. July we have the Formula E race in New York, so I'll be at the office and be there. We've got a couple things in August, September, and October, maybe even November already on the calendar. So looking forward to that and meeting people in the community, in the ecosystem, partners. Look, this team is doing a lot. I think we're gearing up to unleash the power of multiverse, just like we geared up for Rush. I think the onslaught of subnets and use cases and exciting stuff that's going to be coming is really gonna change things for the better, of course. So excited to see where that goes.
Has there been any follow-up on the Culture Catalyst? I haven't heard much about it since we were in Barcelona.
Yep. So we announced Grimes, of course, is the first project for Culture Catalyst. We've greenlit a handful.
Do you want to give the high level? What is the Culture Catalyst?
So Culture Catalyst is the dedicated fund or amount of money that the foundation has put aside to support projects and programs on Open. Open is OP3N. It's an app. So think of it like Spotify, but with NFTs, like an app store meets a Spotify where you get NFT drops, but those drops have utility, right? So you have the community, so that you have the NFT, it's in the app, you have a community there, like a chat, like a Discord, right? Alongside access to certain cool stuff. So if it's a music NFT or an NFT from a musician, maybe you get a drop of their single or their album a week before it goes public, or you get an AMA with them. So that's going to be, Grimes is doing a children's book. We have some musicians coming online. We might have some music videos coming online. If you've been paying attention to music videos, you might have seen something the past week that includes Avalanche, and that's from an artist that's launching a bunch of stuff on it as well. So we've got a pretty big slate. That slate has like a lot of production behind it. These are artists, celebrities, athletes, whatever it may be. So there's a lead time there. So looking forward to that. So there's production costs there, and we're working with those guys to support them.
Yeah, go for it, Connor.
I was just gonna say, yeah. So it's kind of. I was gonna pivot a little bit. I was gonna talk, about Berlin and just some of the other upcoming events. So yes, obviously, Berlin is something that we're super excited for. I'm not going. I am so sad. Germany is one of my homes, but unfortunately, I have a conflict that weekend and had to turn that one down. But I will tell everyone how disappointed I am, because that's just where I am. But another thing that we actually had recently this last weekend was the Cornell Hackathon, which was something that I got to go to. And I think we are kind of using that as a testing ground for potentially launching several more hackathons at universities around the country. And I just wanted to chime in for a little bit about my experience there. And I know, Gabriel, you were really involved as well. But I got to go out to the alma mater and see about 100 kids who were looking at getting into fintech and Web3 and crypto and smart contract development. And I thought there was a fantastic mix of people there. There was definitely a heavy engineering contingent, but also a non-coder contingent as well. I gave a talk on the first day. It was very similar to a talk I gave in Barcelona. That's kind of smart contract development for all skill levels and how to get involved in learning about how blockchains like that are EVM based actually work. And I kind of asked the audience how many people don't know how to code. It was actually a sizable proportion. But what was really cool for me was seeing the variety of different skill levels, and everybody was just being super excited about Avalanche, and seeing people who were writing their first smart contracts ever and going through tutorials and asking questions. And I did really enjoy getting to be a resource for them and get to see their eyes light up when things started to work and they were able to do their first deployments, and they figure out like, oh, this is why it's different than normal programming. Like, oh, it makes sense now. That was super cool. And also seeing some teams perform very well at the high end, who had a little bit more experience, who were coming to us and they're like, can we build a platform native NFT bridge across subnets? And of course, Steven was like, oh yeah, you can do that in a weekend. And I'm just like, you cannot do that in a weekend.
You can do that in a weekend.
Yeah. But it was fun just, having a lot of, really ambitious people there who were able to give them access to the fullest of our resources for, there was no better team there to kind of sell them on what Avalanche is and give them the help they needed. So, that was really cool. And I know you wanted to give a shout out to some of the winners who hopefully you have pulled up and have in front of you.
Yes, I do. So yeah, we had 100 attendees and 13 submissions. So that kind of gives you a sense of the team size. Plus there were just people hanging around. And before I mention the winners, Connor is correct. So we are intending to use this in the same way that sort of Lisbon led into Barcelona, which is leading into Berlin. And we're kind of learning at each step of the way. This Cornell Hackathon sort of, came after Barcelona's, which came after the Morales one before that. So we're learning, and our intention is to kick off a whole series of hackathons, both at colleges. We want to do a series of colleges, and then also at events like we're having a hacker house in Berlin that I'll be at. And it's not a full-blown hackathon, but it's kind of like a, one-day hack session. So we're learning. And Cornell was totally successful. Thank you so much, Connor, for going out there and kicking butt. And so the first place was Igloo. And the idea behind Igloo was basically, what if you could, whenever you spin up an NFT, because the theme of the hackathon was NFTs. So we wanted people to kind of approach it from that dimension. And one of the things that people often talk about when they spin up NFTs is that storing the assets kind of seems like it's something that you're grafting onto the blockchain experience. You're either using IPFS or Filecoin, or you're using traditional Web2, AWS buckets or something like that. And so the idea behind Igloo was basically to make storage of the NFT assets more a native part of the entire experience. And so I don't know if you know much about the chain. I don't know if you know much about the tech, Connor, but basically they were using Spaces VM, and they had two different chains on this one subnet. and then they had like a snow bridge. So it was a pretty ambitious project. And I've seen other people pitch that same idea in the past, that today it just seems like when you're storing assets for NFTs, it's awkward. What if we can make it more a part of the smart contract workflow? So that was first place. That was Igloo. Second place was Clean Lab. So this was basically creating and storing carbon credits on the blockchain. And again, I have seen this same idea pop up multiple times. As a matter of fact, in Barcelona, one of the presenters, John, you may remember their name, but there was a car company that presented. Unfortunately, I cannot remember their name. What was it?
Hug.
Oh yeah, there you go. And one of their features was exactly what we're mentioning here, which is basically tracking and trading carbon credits on the blockchain. And so that was the second place. And then third place was Cybergenesis, and this was a blockchain as a service. So, if you've ever used the blockchain, there's such a huge opportunity for people to abstract that all away and to make it available over web services. And of course, we saw that with Morales, and something we've definitely brainstormed on internally at Ava Labs. And it's been, Infura does something like this, and I built rest.bitcoin.com, which was similar to this. So the idea is always out there, which is to, take firing up a blockchain, keeping it secure, syncing the state of the node, all of doing updates and abstracting it away and offering it as some simple web service API. And so that was the third place. That was called Cybergenesis. And so I wanted to give those three teams a shout out, simply because, as Connor mentioned, these are mostly college age kids, and they came out and they threw down over the course of a weekend, and they were successful, in my opinion. So I think Cornell was a total success. I had the meeting today with the other people, So Chill and Eric, who helped organize that, and Aaron, and we're using that as a jumping off point to create another series of hackathons at colleges. So if you can't make it to Berlin, fear not. I have a feeling there's going to be a ton of different meet space events over the course of the next 6 months or so. So I suspect we'll all be seeing each other in person very soon.
If there's a Los Angeles contingent that ever wants to do a meetup in LA, let me know. I'll set it up. But otherwise, I'm all good about that.
Okay, well, I think
Are you the only LA team member?
No, there's 4 of us.
Okay, yeah, probably
I was
should
the
dox
only one
everybody
for
on
about
air.
a year.
Yeah. We actually, I had a fun experience. Some people flew out to DC a few weeks ago for a meeting, and I got to go down and hang out with them. So, yeah, that was my first time seeing anybody in my neck of the woods, which was pretty cool.
Okay, well, thank you so much, John. It really is an honor to work with you, man. You're an absolute champion. I tell people all the time about how your team is absolutely destroying it, and I really am grateful for everything you've done. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Definitely looking forward
Likewise,
to
guys. Likewise, guys. Thanks. Been listening to this forever. So thanks for having me, and thanks for everything you guys do. We just go out there and talk about all the great stuff you guys do. So appreciate it.
And we just come back and talk about it on the show. So
yeah, if you ever want to plug anything, let us know. Do you want to give? So I guess we want to plug your social, however, your Twitter or whatever you want to plug. And if there's anybody on your team you want to give a shout out to, any last minute thoughts, including your social handles.
Twitter at @sjohn_Nahas. You can find me. I have an APA as a profile pic. It's an honorary one they made me. Shout out always, honestly, to the whole team, but specifically to the BD team who keeps on crushing it on a daily basis. So I appreciate them, appreciate everybody, and especially the community. I mean, we're so fortunate to have such a great community. So thanks for listening to me rant and ramble for a while. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, if you ever want to come back on and plug anything, obviously, just let us know. You're welcome anytime. So thank you. Safe travels to Berlin. I'll see you in a few days. Connor, any last minute thoughts, social channels, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, John. Yeah, this is really fun to actually talk to you about crypto, because we don't really do that when we see each other. We're catching up about other stuff, and you're telling me where you're going after Lisbon or whatever, all your fun vacation destinations.
Vacations. I don't go on vacations. If I was, my wife would be happy. I just travel for work. I get stuck at home with 2 kids. She's a trooper. So I guess a shout out and a thank you to my wife who helps with 2 kids while I talk crypto all day. And she has a job too, of course. So we're all grinding away here, but it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at DAS_Connor, DAS_CONNOR.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, as usual, you can follow me on Twitter at CG Cardona. That's CGCARDONA. And as we mentioned, we'll be in Berlin next week. We've already got some great guests lined up over the next couple episodes. So everybody keeps asking about subnets. We've got some good subnet guests lined up coming soon. I think people are going to be very excited to hear what they have to say. So make sure you tune back next week, same time, same channel. And I think that's it. If you made it this far, you're an absolute champion. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. So as always, from Snowflake to Avalanche and through consensus to the stars. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.